Welcome to Abby Lee Wellness, a place for sensitive souls to feel grounded and at ease as you learn everyday tools and insights to live your life most inspired. Hello, welcome. I am super excited that this is finally happening, so thank you for being interested and thank you for being here. Today, I'd love to go over some of my upbringing and different health challenges that I've had that maybe people wouldn't guess just by looking at me and how I've just been able to overcome that. Also, I'd like to go over what motivated me to take action, why I do what I do, and what I hope for from humanity. So starting off with where I came from and my upbringing, I grew up in an environment that honestly felt very unsafe for many years, from elementary school through high school. I had suicidal thoughts. I didn't think that life was worth living, honestly. I had tons of food sensitivities. I was actually allergic to all fruits and vegetables, believe it or not. And I had eczema all over my hands, skin rashes, acne all over my forehead, dandruff, horrible nightmares, sleep problems, painful bowel movements. I had no idea that going to the bathroom can be something that's comfortable. Things like perioral dermatitis and chalazions, if you've ever heard of those. I can go more into those later. I was constantly going in and out of the doctor. My mom, it was almost a joke. We would laugh about just how I am so sensitive and how I'm that I'm that 1%, that one less than 1% that's going to get an adverse reaction to this medication or that's going to catch this thing. And I was always getting that stuff. And I just had a complete lack of awareness of the mind-body connection, of how food impacts all of these things that were going on. I grew up eating boxed mac and cheese, Tombstone frozen pizza, pizza rolls, just lots of sugar, Reese's for breakfast with skim milk. Yeah, I just had no idea. And I'd really love to elaborate further on specifically different parts of how I overcame a lot of this and how I was able to heal my own body and mind. So how have I been able to live this beautiful, peaceful, amazing life with so much joy and traveling around the world and able to overcome a lot of these challenges that stuck with me for a very long time? I have people that are very close to me who know a little more about the depth and some of the strange behaviors environment that I grew up in. They say to me, like, how are you not screwed up? And I ask myself that. And honestly, I think so much of it was I didn't want to be a victim. I didn't want to repeat certain patterns and behaviors that I saw in my family. There's a lot of mental health and a lot of health issues that run in my family. And as a young girl, I decided this ends with me. I'm not going to pass this on. I want to live my life most inspired. I'm not going to let these limitations set me back. I decided when I was just, having these suicidal thoughts, and there was a lot of narcissism and abuse and screaming and things breaking and unpredictability, I just told myself that I am going to do whatever I can to get through these times. And by the time I turn 18, that is when I can fully live my life. That is when I will be an adult and do whatever the hell I want. So ever since I just planted that seed in my little Abby body that I wanted to break this generational trauma, I wanted to live the life that I wanted on my terms, every decision I made moving forward was based off of that seed that I planted as a little girl. So that seed that was planted allowed me to make the conscious choice to transform the negative energy from those difficult times into positive fuel to light the path toward my healthiest, happiest, and most peaceful life. I then began to live life with intention and purpose, and the fuel from this transformed energy was so strong that to this day, which is 19 years after that seed was planted, I am still sustaining and being fed from that same fuel. So now shifting into how I was motivated and why I do what I do. So through those dark times of how I was treated as a child gave me a clear vision of who I didn't want to be when I grew up. So to accomplish this vision of living my best life, it started with making intentional decisions. And I really think with just a solid foundation, it started at age 16, making the decision to start working as a waitress at a chain restaurant called Perkins Restaurant and Bakery in Eagan, Minnesota. And I made very good money with the tips for a 16-year-old, and I decided I was going to save every coin, every single ounce of anything I made there. I put it away in a savings account because I knew I would have to pay for college, which would help me still on my path towards achieving what I wanted for myself, and to hopefully also travel the world and see what I want and just live whatever life I dream for myself. And then finally, when I turned 18, honestly, I really didn't look back much. I went to college intentionally in a different state, even though it was just really an hour and a half east of Minneapolis in Wisconsin. I just wanted to be totally on my own. I wanted to just start fresh. And the moment I turned 18, it just felt like I am so excited to be an adult. I'm so excited that I can just make my own decisions. I can do what I want. I don't have to be constantly being restricted or watched or walking on eggshells, and really put a lot of my energy into school. I absolutely love knowledge. I love learning. I love studying. And then during this time, this is when I actually began to heal a lot of my food allergies. So I'd like to do a separate episode on that, just because it's something very complex and a lot to consider, and I don't want anyone to maybe replicate exactly what I did, because it might not necessarily be safe depending on your situation. But for me in college, I thought the cafeteria food was amazing. I thought it was so good because I grew up where I just ate such crappy food. And here I am at the cafeteria, so many different types of foods, and I decided I cannot live like this anymore. I cannot be allergic to all fruits and vegetables. I don't want to have to say without onions, without tomato at every frickin' place, or when I'm cooking with people to be that person with the limitations. And so I just slowly started introducing these foods into my body, and was able to completely overcome my food allergies and even my seasonal allergies I haven't experienced in many years. I used to have horrible, just draining snot, couldn't sleep, constantly sneezing, hard to concentrate allergies in the summer going into fall until things would freeze over in the winter. It would then go away. And this is what just blew my mind and really inspired me to see that, holy crap, I have the power to reverse these things going on in my body. And I went to so many different specialists and doctors, and they told me there was nothing you could do. They gave me an EpiPen. I actually had an anaphylactic reaction while taking an allergist test where they poke all the needles in your back. I had the anaphylactic reaction where the throat closes, start coughing, can't breathe, and the doctors were running down the hallway. And it's funny that the only time I've had a severe allergic reaction is when I'm around doctors. So yeah, they just told me their advice was to avoid all those foods. I was also allergic to tree nuts and peanuts, walnuts, just so many things. I was just as sensitive. little being. And so by overcoming these allergies, this was a major symbol for me that I can be my own advocate for my health. And holy crap, I just started eating all these foods and have never had a reaction since. And then through college, I also started traveling all over the world from waitressing, from the money I saved up from waitressing. And first went to Australia to visit my sister for a month who was studying abroad there, and then traveled to Western Europe through a history of psychology program. And that was my first time in Europe, one of my favorite continents ever. That's where my mind was so blown with how remarkable and beautiful our world is. I was so deeply inspired by the art in France and the mountains of Switzerland and the culture of Germany. And this is where I developed this mindset of, why would I waste time doing shit I don't want to do? Why would I date someone that I don't think is the right match? Why would I just sit around and hang out with people that I don't care to be around, when there is so much beauty out there and so many opportunities and so many cool people and so many amazing sights to see? I was so inspired and continue to be fed the travel bug. Then I went to India in my last semester of college, where this was my first time going to a country like this, more of a developing country. And I was in the northern half of the country, and this was actually, it was New Year's going into 2013. So it was 2012 going into 2013. And that's when, I don't know if you remember, but that's when there was a bunch of news coverage of this horrible incident of a girl and her boyfriend who were waiting for their bus, and she was violently raped, and they were both murdered while waiting for their bus. And I was in that city where this happened right after it happened, and so I witnessed crowds and crowds of people in front of the parliament, in front of the government, protesting rights for women, to have more equal rights for women, and police were tear gassing innocent protesters. And after traveling around India for a month, that's when I came back and decided it was time to apply for the Peace Corps. And I had just taken a course from a professor where she spent the whole day talking about the Peace Corps, and that's when I was like, everything in me lit up. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew this was how I was going to take everything from my life and be able to apply it into something purposeful. So still fueled by this trauma of the past that was transformed into a positive energy of wanting to make a good impact in the world for the future, I applied for the Peace Corps despite people calling me crazy for going into this Peace Corps. And I got people projecting a lot of their fears on me, saying that I'd get AIDS or some kind of disease, as though that's how that works when you just land on some different continent. And I'll do a separate episode diving deeper into how awkward, bizarre, challenging, and deeply transformative it was to live in a country I had never even heard of for 2.5 years. So yeah, I applied. The application process took about 2 years. I got accepted, and I was sent to a country called Macedonia, which is located in Eastern Europe near the borders of Bulgaria, Serbia, and Greece is in the south. Albania is up there in the northwest. And my primary role was an English teacher. I did not go to college to learn how to teach, and the Peace Corps does provide plenty of training. However, I was fresh out of college. I was 23 and definitely a huge learning curve. So I also got really involved in my secondary projects, and this is where I started to build a lot of those tools toward what I do today and starting my own business. When I was in this country called Macedonia, I was in a small village in the eastern part of the country and pretty isolated area. I was the only American there. One of the few people, only person that was fluent in English. There were definitely some people that could speak English because they studied it or were students learning English. And so I started something called GLOW, GLOW, which is Girls Leading Our World, where every week we'd meet together I would pick select students who we would communicate in English through this program on personal development, relationships, career, what it's like to live in this country and how we can work with that and move forward, how to live a positive, healthy life given these different circumstances in this country. That was incredible. I never thought I could do something like that. And then my all-time favorite project that I did there was teaching personal development and meditation, other health topics at an all-boys camp in the mountains, where for a week teenage boys go off and learn a bunch of different awesome skills in the outdoors. And I was there each day teaching different things about our emotions and our feelings, and which was really cool to teach that in a culture that's a patriarchal society. And this is not something that's talked about. I noticed that the Macedonian language doesn't even have a variety of words to describe specific different emotions. And so that was hands down one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever done. And then I also taught positive psychology courses through a nonprofit. I used to travel by bus through the countryside and out to a little bit of a bigger city where they had a space for me to teach positive psychology. And then that's where I continued that mentality where, can I apply this idea of living a happy and successful life even in a country where it's extremely poor, really, really crappy government that totally suppresses the people. And that's where I was like, yeah, I don't think this is a completely privileged viewpoint. There's definitely some privilege in it. However, I think we can still relatively look at each of our lives, no matter what situation we are in, and figure out how, based off your own unique person that you are, how you can live out your healthiest and happiest life. So this experience was life-changing, and at the end of the 2.5 years, at the end of my contract, I decided I really love working, especially with the youth and the teenagers, and just empowering people to live the life that they want. And I asked myself, how can I do this kind of job while getting paid to do it in the US? So I decided to instead just travel around the world for 8 months. So I completed the Peace Corps contract, decided not to go back to America yet because I wanted to really reflect on how transformative of an experience this was, and I just wasn't ready to come back yet. I felt like I had so much to see and experience, and so I started solo backpacking, starting in Thailand. I had no route or plan. I just lived day by day off of my savings that I still had, and you get a stipend when you complete the Peace Corps. And yeah, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan. I just kept going around wherever my heart led me. And through this solo backpacking, just continuing to see how incredible our world is, how so much more of our world lives like the country I had just been coming from, Macedonia. And then one day I was in a hostel, a $10 a night hostel, including breakfast. It was peanut butter toast and tea that I had every day. I lived in the same hostel for about 90 days as I was waiting for my Russian visa that I was applying for to take the Trans-Siberian Railway across Russia into Mongolia. Another thing that people told me would be super difficult,
People always on the path when you're following your dreams, trying to tell you that it's not possible, but trust me, it is. So one day I was on the computer, that they actually had a computer in this hostel, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and this job appeared to work for a wilderness therapy program on the Big Island of Hawaii, working with at-risk teenagers. And I was like, holy crap, this is exactly what I said I wanted to get paid for in the US. And wow, it's in Hawaii. This looks super cool. And so I applied while in this hostel, and then they contacted me a few weeks later. At this point, I was in Japan. I bought a little like pocket Wi-Fi thing, hid in a closet in the hostel in Japan to do an interview, and they accepted me. And I was like, I honestly don't know when I'm coming back to the US. I still have a lot of different countries I want to travel to. And this program in Hawaii told me, don't worry about it. Contact us when you come back to the US and you have a job. So I felt very secure in that and just kept continuing on to all these incredible countries, Hungary, then Russia, Mongolia, and finally felt ready to come back to the US to apply a lot of what I've learned. And I hadn't been to the US or even visited or seen close friends and family for 3 years at this point. So that was also intentional. I wanted to just allow that contrast to see how much I had grown and changed. And it was very evident how I even actually grew half an inch. And I really think, I was 26 at this point. I really think that had to do with eating phenomenal produce in Macedonia. It is some of the best produce I've ever had in my life. The best tomatoes and cabbage and peppers, and everybody gardens and knows how to live sustainably off the land. That's like a privilege here in the US, but that's just called poverty in Macedonia. And so I was in the US on the mainland for just about a month, saying hello to friends and family, processing a lot of my experience, and then off I was again to move on to the Big Island of Hawaii, which I had also never been here, and packed just one backpack, because if you know me, if you've traveled with me, I like to travel light. I don't like to carry around baggage. I don't like having lots of stuff. I'm pretty minimal. So just had one carry-on backpack, moved to Hawaii, and that's where I worked as a field guide and then built up to being a supervisor of this wilderness therapy working with at-risk teenagers. And this is where I developed those skills, which was also my intention because I knew one day I was going to do something big on my own. And this helped me build the confidence and build a massive toolbox on how to work with so many different personalities and mental health issues, variety of anxiety, depression, those who are on the autism spectrum and having some difficulties, and eating disorders, just different forms of dysregulation that many of us can relate to, I'm sure, on a wide range of a scale, whether you're diagnosed with something or not. And we were working in the garden every day. This was a program that focused on getting the students regulated. Their ages 13 to 17, getting the students regulated through gardening, getting their hands in the dirt, planting seeds, building their own gardens, watching these plants grow as they watch themselves grow and evolve. And it's an incredibly transformative program. And then it's also a rites of passage program where these kids were coming in and identifying what they were going to leave behind of their past, of whatever they went through before coming to this program, and who they wanted to be, who they were going to step into as this new, confident, strong, whatever it was that they were claiming person to move forward in their lives. And this company that I worked for is awesome. They actually provide this experience for the employees as well. So If you've ever heard of a vision fast, this is something that's been used in cultures for thousands of years and has definitely been lost in our most recent years, which I for sure think has led to some of us maybe feeling lost and a lot of the anxiety and that's in the world right now. And so this vision fast, you had to apply, and only 6 people in the whole company are selected every 6 months. So twice a year, they do this vision fast. And I felt so deeply called to do this. And it's where you go off in the middle of nowhere, part of the big island of Hawaii. You fast from food for over 72 hours. It was about 3.5 days. You just drink water, you build your own shelter with a tarp, and you go out there and you sit with yourself, just you, yourself, and the elements of nature, and claim a part of yourself of who you want to be and who you want to step into. And I had to write a super vulnerable letter to the owner of the company, a guy I had never even met before, and just poured out my life story and what I wanted to work on. And at that point in life, I wanted to leave behind any feelings of self-doubt that I had and leave behind any trauma or just things that were holding me back. And I wanted to step into my most powerful, confident, capable, beautiful self. And through this transformative journey, which I can elaborate more in a separate podcast, and how you can kind of create your own little vision fast for yourself through having your own ceremonies and all that good stuff. I came out the other end, and that's when another seed was planted for me to just do my own thing. I was ready to, maybe not necessarily fully ready, still a little scared, to go out there and do it and harness my gifts, first recognizing even what my gifts are, how to harvest those gifts, and then to allow others to enjoy the fruit of this harvest. And so then after this vision fast, that's when I was like, all right, it's time. I'm going to get certified in being a life coach. I'm going to start my own business. It's time to take these skills that I've learned and figure out how to transform what I love about life, the tools I've used to push forward and to hopefully help others feel inspired to live their best life. And then right when I got certified, when I finished the program to becoming a life coach, a holistic life coach, that's when 2020 hit. It was literally the next month when all the lockdowns happened, and honestly, I saw it as a beautiful opportunity to ground and focus on how I wanted to build my business, to just allow time for myself to figure out how to do this and to just go right into it. And then also during this time, this is when I got really into yoga, and life coaching is still, to me, I see it as a little bit of an elusive thing. It's becoming a little more common, but people might not necessarily know what it means. So I liked the idea of pairing something like yoga, a physical thing that more people are more familiar with. You can see it in your body, you can feel it in your body, you can see it in a photo or photograph of how it can help your body. So pairing that process of life coach, and then, okay, you can see how it manifests in the body too, different breathing exercises, how to move your body, and then encompassing that with all the research that I've done and all the experiences I've had through nutrition and how I feed my body through food, through who I surround myself and who I don't surround myself by. And COVID was just the most awesome opportunity to get certified as a yoga instructor. And I spent so much time doing the certification and just diving fully into that, and then getting an advanced certification. If you're not familiar with yoga, you probably don't know the terms, but it's called a 500-hour yoga certification, and that has changed my life in ways I never knew. And I'm excited to share a lot of yoga philosophy, breath work, postures that can help improve some things that I see that come up with the clients that I work with. And also during this time in 2020, it was the best time for me to focus on my health. And that's when I started to realize that the birth control pill that I was on was definitely not serving me. And it's now been over 2 years, about 2.5 years, and my body is still detoxing and becoming regular after mistakenly going on this pharmaceutical drug. So I will definitely do further episodes on what my experience has been like with that, how I healed from the birth control pill, what other natural methods are available, and how much it made me more in tune with my feminine, with my energy, with my whole body and being. And I have spent so much freaking time, especially from 2020 through 2022, spending excessive amounts of research and time and experimenting. And now I finally feel ready to come out and talk more about it, because I'm someone that sits and observes. I don't quickly say, hey, I did this thing and it worked. I think it takes years for things to evolve. And that's a part of the holistic approach, is that these things take time. And I really hope that through so much of my hard work, I can hopefully share information in a way to you that is digestible and able to apply it to your own life and have a community together where you can express, hey, I tried something you talked about on the podcast, or I tried this tool, and can you talk more about this? Because I would love to hear from you. If you're listening, you can email me at abbyleewellness@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram at abbyleewellness, or go to my website, abbyleewellness.com, and let me know what you want to hear more of. You can sign up one-on-one. I am taking a few new clients in the next couple of months, so you can sign up on my website or send me a message. So hopefully through hearing part of my life story and a lot of things that I've shared, maybe there's some things that you relate to. And when I work one-on-one with clients, I hear a lot of limitations, like I can't do this, or, well, I don't know, I'm not able to do this, or I'm too scared to do this. And I hope that you can realize you actually can do it. And oftentimes it just takes one little switch of realizing, some sort of limitation that was set in your way. And that's what having a life coach helps with staying committed to, staying consistent with your wellness goals, your life goals, your career, relationship, communication goals. And the relationship that is developed through the life coach and the client, I have come to realize is something so deeply sacred and not something I take lightly. It's the most incredible experience for me to have people feel safe expressing some of their deepest, weirdest truths about themselves, their difficulties, their struggles, their triumphs, their funny experiences, and just all of that. It's been so remarkable, and I hope to take some common themes that I hear from working with people and be able to make a podcast of some tools, philosophies, insights into how you can apply it to your life to feel grounded and at peace, and to know that peace is possible no matter what kind of chaos or overwhelm is going on around you. So I hope to just be myself and be okay with expressing that I deeply love myself, and I hope that others can realize that there is joy in pursuing wellness, that it doesn't have to be this drag, this thing that you dread, or, oh God, I gotta go meditate again, or I have to go to the gym, or whatever it is, that there are actually tools for you that can help you pursue wellness where you look forward to eating what nourishes your body, or you look forward to a certain type of movement that you enjoy. Maybe it isn't going to the gym or doing excessive cardio. Instead, it might just be kind of dancing around the house or doing a slow yoga flow. And that's what I hope for from humanity, is to truly feel and experience this joy and this peace from feeling healthy, from feeling safe in your own body. Because I see right now in our world, I just really see a need for that. It just seems like there's a lot of anxiety out there, and on social media, I see such extremes. I see such far left and such far right. And those are the things that I see are getting attention in social media. They're kind of like in your face, and I see them as very fear-based. And I like to provide more peace-based solutions of approaching challenges or triumphs and everything in between in your life from a grounded place of peace. And I hope to provide more of that middle path rather than the extreme over here and the extreme over there. We're on a spectrum, and we fluctuate from the middle over this way and then over that way. And maybe at certain seasons of your life, it's more consistent, and other seasons, maybe there's a little more going on. And there can be tools where you can feel grounded, confident in expressing yourself and in loving yourself. And so I hope this can be a space for sensitive souls, however your sensitivities manifest, whether you consider yourself an empath or a highly intuitive, highly sensitive being, ADHD, maybe autism spectrum, allergies, rage, anger. All of these things come out from, in my opinion, are what are our sensitivities. And I see a need today of figuring out how to take on things that are manifested in our body, in our mind, in our spirit due to the current climate that we live in today. And in this year, in this time, nobody has ever lived what we are living today in the past. Only today is what's ever gone on. And I hope for people who are sensitive or looking to be more grounded and having more peace in their lives to not have to feel like they need to constantly protect their energy or protect themselves or avoid certain energies, but rather how to carry that peace with you through all of those energies that are around you, to still feel safe and grounded and not have to think of like, oh, I'm protecting myself, or oh, I'm trying to avoid this thing, but to truly feel that confidence and love for yourself that allows you to blend with all the different harmonies, all the different energies that are going around us all the time. And I want people to know that it is possible to live with less anxiety. It is possible to live life with less depression. It is possible to accept these parts of yourself and then know that you're not alone and that there are other ways through these feelings and navigating this. And through this good health, you'll glow and ultimately be less reactive, less avoidant, less ungrounded, and can feel safe in your own body, in your own mind, and in your own spirit. Thanks for listening. See you next time.